Hello everyone, I am Assistant Professor S.V. Shedale from Agricultural Engineering Department. This session we will start with fuel supply system. Okay, there are two types of fuel supply systems according to the types of engine. So first fuel supply system, that is the fuel supply system in petrol engine. It is also called as SI engine, means spark ignition engine. Okay. Then second system, that is fuel supply system in diesel engine. It is also known as CI engine. Okay, diesel engine, it is also known as CI engines, means compression ignition engine. Okay. Now let's see the first components of fuel supply system in petrol engine. Okay, why it is called as spark ignition engine? Because there is the use of spark plug for the generation of the spark, right? And the mixture of air and fuel, it is prepared separately, okay, outside the cylinder in carburetor. Okay, so let's see the components of the fuel supply system in petrol engine. So first one, that is fuel tank for the storing of the fuel, then sediment bowl to remove the dirt particles from the fuel. Okay, then fuel lift pump, then carburetor, and last component, that is fuel pipes. Okay, this is the diagram for the fuel supply system in petrol engine. Okay, first this is the air cleaning system here. Okay, then this is the carburetor, then this is the fuel filter, then this one tank, here is the exhaust fold, here is the inlet air fold. Okay, then this is the engine. Okay, and this is the governor, okay, to control the speed and to control overall the mechanism. Okay, now let's see the working of this fuel supply system. So in some spark ignition engine, the fuel tank is placed above the level of the carburetor. Okay, in some fuel system, in case of petrol engine, the tank is placed above this carburetor level. Okay, after that the fuel flows from the fuel tank to the carburetor under the action of gravity, right? Then there are one or two filters between the fuel tank and the carburetor. Okay, between the carburetor and fuel tank there may be one or two fuel filter for the removal of the dirt or abrasive material from the fuel. Okay, then the transparent sediment bowl is also provided to hold the dust and dirt of the fuel. Okay, there are two stages of the filtering. So in first stage there is the simple filter, after that there is the sediment bowl also. Okay, then if the tank is below the level of the carburetor, a lift pump is used. In some cases what will happen, or in some cases this fuel tank is placed below the level of carburetor, and in this case fuel lift pump is used for the lifting the fuel. Okay, then this lift pump is provided in between the tank and carburetor for forcing the fuel from the tank to the carburetor of the engine. Okay, then the fuel comes from the fuel tank, then to the sediment bowl, and then to the lift pump. Okay, and from there the fuel goes to the carburetor through the suitable pipes, and from the carburetor the fuel goes to the engine cylinder. Okay, is it clear? Now let's see the functions of these different components of the fuel supply system in petrol engine. So first component, that is carburetor. The process of preparing air plus fuel mixture away from the cylinder of the engine, that process is called as carburation, and the device is used for this process, that is called as carburetor. Okay, the process is called as carburation and the device that is used, that is carburetor. Okay, and the main function is prepare the air fuel mixture. Okay, fuel tank is used for the storing of the fuel, then sediment bowl for the removal of the dirt particles from the fuel, then fuel lift pump for the lifting the fuel towards the carburetor, then carburetor is used to prepare the mixture of air plus fuel, and fuel pipes to transfer the fuel. Okay. Now next system, that is fuel supply system in diesel engine. It is also called as CI engine. Why? Because in diesel engine there is no spark plug. Okay, there is fuel injector is used, and the fuel is compressed at very high pressure, so there is increase in temperature, and by using this heat fuel get burnt. Okay. Now there are main components of fuel system in diesel engine. Let's see one by one. That is fuel tank, obviously to store the fuel, then fuel lift pump to lift the fuel. Okay, then fuel filter, then fuel injection pump, then high pressure pipes, then overflow valve, and last one, that is fuel injector. Okay. Now let's see the working of this use of these different components. First one, that is fuel tank. It is used. It is a storage tank of suitable size, shape, usually made up of mild steel sheet, and the atmospheric pressure is maintained in the tank with the help of the pinhole on the cap. Okay, there is a pinhole on the cap, and so the atmospheric pressure is maintained within the tank. Then usually a wire gauge strainer is provided under the cap to prevent the entry of the foreign particles into the fuel tank. Okay. Then next component, that is fuel lift pump. It transfers the adequate amount of the fuel from the fuel tank to the inlet gallery of the injection pump through the fuel filter. Okay. This is the fuel supply system in engine. This is the diesel tank. From this, fuel is transferred to the fuel filter, where the dirt particles from the fuel are removed. Okay, and then it is transferred to the fuel injection pump. This is fuel injection pump through this fuel lift pump. Okay. After that, the fuel is transferred to these cylinders via high pressure fuel injection pipes through the fuel injectors into the different cylinders. Okay. Now next component, that is fuel lift pump, where the fuel pressure at the fuel lift pump in the range of 1.5 to 2.5 kg per centimeter square. Okay, so the pressure inside the fuel lift pump, that is about 1.5 to 2.5 kg per centimeter square. Then it is mounted on the body of the fuel injection pump. Fuel lift pump may be plunger type or diaphragm type. The next component, that is fuel filter. It is the device to remove the dirt and solid particles from the fuel to ensure the trouble-free fuel supply. Okay. And next component, that is fuel injection pump. Okay, it is a high pressure pump which delivers the metered quantity of the fuel to each cylinder at appropriate time under the pressure according to the firing order of the engine. Okay, and the pressure, that is about 120 to 175 kg per centimeter square, and the pump used in tractors of two type, that is multi-element pump and distributor, or it is also called as rotor type of pump. Okay. The next, fuel injector. It is the component which delivers finally atomized fuel under the high pressure to the combustion chamber of the engine. Now during the engine operation, the fuel is supplied by the gravity from the fuel tank to the primary filter. We already discussed about this filter, where the coarse impurities are removed. Then from the primary filter, the fuel is drawn by fuel transfer pump and is delivered to the fuel injection pump through the second fuel filter. Then the fuel injection pump supplies the fuel under high pressure to inject through the high pressure pipes, and the injection atomizes the fuel and inject it into the combustion chamber of the engine. Okay. Then the fuel injector pump is fed with fuel in abundance So the excess fuel is bypassed to the intake side of the fuel transfer pump through a relief valve. Okay. So the excess fuel is transferred towards the intake side of the diesel tank through the relief valve. Okay. Now next system, that is lubrication system. As we know that the friction between the moving parts causes the wear at a faster rate and tremendous amount of heat is produced, right? So to reduce this friction there is a need of lubrication. Okay. And this can be reduced when a thin film of oil is placed between them so that the parts ride on oil instead of riding on each other. Okay, so this type of friction is termed as a fluid friction. Hence the purpose of the lubrication is to substitute the fluid friction for the solid friction. Okay. Now there are some functions of engine oils. It provides thin film between the moving parts and minimizes the friction and wear. Then also it removes the heat from the engine parts, thus acting as a cooling agent. The next one, it absorbs the shock between the bearing and other engine parts, thus reduces the noise and life of the engine increases. Okay. Then it forms a good seal between the piston rings and cylinder wall, preventing leakage of the gases from the combustion chamber. Okay. Also it acts as a cleaning agent to carry away the dirt particles of the carbon and other foreign matter to the sump. Then it also reduces the power required to overcome the frictional resistance between the moving parts. Okay. Now what is meant by lubrication system? The lubrication system of an engine, it is an arrangement of the mechanism and devices which maintains the supply of lubricating oil to the rubbing surface of the engine at a correct pressure and temperature. Okay, that is called as lubrication system. And we know that there are the different types of components which requires the lubrications. What are those? Like cylinder walls, pistons, piston pin, then a crankshaft, connecting rod, bearings, then camshaft bearings, valves, then valve operating mechanism, cooling fan, water pump and ignition mechanism. Okay. Now there are three common systems of a lubrication. So first one, that is splash system. Okay. In this system there is a oil trough provided below the connecting rod. Okay, this is the, here is the oil trough provided below this connecting rod. Okay, then oil is maintained at a uniform level in the oil trough, and this is obtained by maintaining a continuous flow of the oil from the oil sump or reservoir into a splash pan. Okay, then this pan receives its oil supply from the oil sump or either by means of gear pump or by gravity. Okay, then a dipper is provided at the lower end of the connecting rod which splashes the oil out of the pan. Okay, there is the dipper, this is the dipper is provided below the connecting rod. So when it dips into the oil, it splashes the oil and that spread all over these parts of the engine. Okay, and the splashing action of the oil maintains a fog or mist of the oil, providing the lubrication to the inner parts of the engine. And this system is usually used in a single cylinder engine with a closed crankcase. Okay, now the next system, that is forced feed system. Okay, in this system the oil sump is pumped directly to the crankshaft, connecting rod, piston pin, timing gears and camshaft through the suitable paths of oil. This is the diagram of forced feed lubrication system. Usually the oil first enters the main gallery, which may be the pipe or channel in the crankcase casting. Okay, this is the main gallery which is present in the crankcase casting. Okay, then from these pipes it goes towards the each main bearing through the hole. okay, through the to the each main bearing through the drilled holes, and from the main bearings it goes to the big bearings of the connecting rod, and through the drilled holes in the crankshaft, and from there it goes to lubricate the valves, then piston, okay, and rings, okay. Then there is a separate oil gallery to lubricate the timing gears. There is a separate gallery for the timing gears, and lubricating the oil, and then lubricating oil pump is a positive displacement type of pump, which may be gear type or vent type. Then the oil also goes to the valve stem, then rocker arm, shaft under the pressure through an oil gallery. Then the excess oil come back from the cylinder head to the crankcase, and then the pump discharges the oil into the oil pipes and oil galleries or the ducts leading to the different parts of the engine, okay. This system is commonly used on the high speed multi-cylinder engines in tractors, trucks and automobiles. The next last system of the lubrication system, that is a combination of splash and forced feed system. In this system, the engine component which are subjected to very heavy load are lubricated under the forced pressure, such as main bearings, connecting rod bearings, then camshaft bearing, etc. And the rest of the parts like cylinders, liners, cams, tappets are lubricated by the splashed oil. So there is a combination of splash plus forced feed system, okay. This is the diagram of splash and pressure system. In this system, the pistons, then piston rings, okay, then cylinder walls are lubricated by the splash, and the main bearings of the connecting rod, okay, then camshaft bearings are lubricated by the pressure feed system through the this lubricating gallery, okay.